Oilers, you got a great offense with Connor McDavid. So I have them sweeping them.
Yeah, well, I don't think you heard my point. The San Francisco Giants have 3 more in the 2010s than the Rangers have in their entire history. So, yeah.
It's hard to get back and to get back-to-back wins. And I don't see the Lightning doing it here, so I have them losing to the Hurricanes in 6.
We don't talk about the 2010s because the 2010s had the Astros. And if the Astros didn't happen, the Yankees would have won in 2017.
He was close to Frank Reich, and they want Frank Reich back, so that's what they got. It's their discount Frank Reich.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew, Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more.
Hi, this is Julie Dobbs. You're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. Yes, a lot of things has been happening, but one just major move that the moves that have happened have come a lot from the St. Louis Cardinals, a historic franchise that has done incredibly well in the playoffs, but has suffered lately. And they moved on from their GM, John Mozeliak, retired from the Cardinals, and they brought in Chaim Bloom, who was the former Red Sox GM, who I believe was fired. And there has been a lot of changes. The most recent to me is being Brendan Donovan, but before that, you had Wilson Contreras, Sonny Gray getting both traded to the Red Sox. You have Nolan Arenado getting traded to the Diamondbacks. And it was a huge youth movement from the Cardinals. And Austin, I wonder, I understand trading Sonny Gray, Arenado, Wilson Contreras, but I think you could have made an argument for not trading Brendan Donovan. But this is going to be a completely different Cardinals team this upcoming year.
I wouldn't have traded Brendan Donovan myself. They still have a lot of young guys. I know there are a lot of talented guys coming up. Jordan Walker obviously has not played up to the expectations of him being a prospect. Mason Witten's been a good shortstop. What do you think the expectations are for them this season?
I don't know if there are really that high expectations. I think it is a full rebuild, which it seems like they've been in that, but this does seem like to me, okay, you're just trying to get prospects and you're not really trying to compete.
Okay, yeah, I think I agree with part of that, but what do you think the timeline is for a team like the Cardinals? They have a storied history. They still have yet to win a World Series since they beat your Rangers in 2011. And you always say for with title teams, it's a decade, right? Like that's how long you're accepted to not win. You said that for the Seahawks video, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we're outside of that now it's been 15 years now. So what's the timeline moving forward, you think?
So this is a fun debate because you mentioned the young players, Mason Wynn. I think they got a lot of pitchers from that Brendan Donovan deal. A lot of guys that can immediately start for them. And I think you could argue this is kind of them fully going into a real rebuild under Chaim Bloom. And they're also a team that hasn't spent a lot of money. Yes, they spent money on Sonny Gray and Nolan Arenado, but there were not many other guys signed to significant deals. Where I think you could make the argument this is a full rebuild and it could take 3 to 5 years of stacking draft picks, building that farm up. But I could see the argument for 2 years because you have Mason Wynn, maybe Jordan Walker finds something, but I do think there is going to be a few years of where the Cardinals are very bad, and that's the plan. Because yes, they've been bad in the past few years, but that was with them trying to compete. Signing guys like Sonny Gray and trying to make it work. But I think with the moves this offseason, it kind of tells people, yes, they are going into a full rebuild, and that's going to take 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. If you look at their starting pitching, they only have a couple of young guys, and only one had a WAR above 1, and that was Matthew Liberatore, who had a WAR of exactly 1, had a 4.21 ERA, which was the lowest on the team last year. And I do think he's pretty talented. Last year, was his age 25 season. He turned 26, so this will be his age 26 season, which for a pitcher is pretty young. They also have Jojo Romero, who's 29, who's a relief pitcher, but they don't have that many great, talented starters that have been proven. A lot of the guys that they've added are either prospects or guys that are really young and have yet to prove themselves at the major league level. And that's going to, in my opinion, determine how long this rebuild takes. I think starting pitching is one of the most important position groups in the league. And if you don't find, okay, how can we get at least two very good starting pitchers, it's hard to contend at any level, no matter which conference you're in.
Yeah, you make a great point about starting pitching, and that to me is where you could make an argument for 2 years of at least competing for a playoff spot. Doesn't mean you're automatically in the playoffs or expected to do that, but I think that is supplementing your team and your prospects with starters from free agents. Of okay, I'm trying to think of one team that has done that to where I think the Rangers kind of what they did was signing starters, going after guys. Or it could be trading, which I think you see. I know the Orioles did it with Brandon. No, I'm thinking of Brandon Woodruff, or no? Am I thinking of the right pitcher from the Brewers? Cy Young. He's down with the Diamondbacks.
It wasn't Woodruff. It was Corbin Burns.
Corbin Burns. Yeah, I don't know how I mix them up, but yeah, Corbin Burns to where you could see guys trading. Even the Mariners, I think that's a great argument of when they started to contend, they went out and got starting pitching, trading.
True, but a lot of their guys
Yep.
are, I mean, George Kirby, Brian Wu, a lot of those guys are homegrown.
Yeah, I just remember the Luis Castillo trade. They also signed Robbie Ray.
They didn't sign from Robbie Ray. They traded from the Giants with Mitch Haniger.
I thought they traded Robbie Ray to the Giants, but they first signed him.
That's right.
And then they ended up trading.
Right. That's right. No, you're right. That's right.
But yeah, they did develop. They are great at developing pitchers. But I think one way you can supplement your team is you have some young guys, but you go out and sign starting pitchers.
Yeah. It's just harder to add starting pitching, in my opinion, now. I think it's kind of at a tight spot. It's a lot of starting pitching has been a little bit more difficult to trade for, as long as it's not. I'm talking about like mid-season trades. Like if you're trying to add for a playoff push, it's harder to add starting pitching because you're going to have to give up, especially as a rebuilding team. If you think about it like that, a lot of teams are going to want major draft capital for a player of the value that you'd probably want if you're trying to make a playoff push.
Yeah, to me, that's where you need to do it in the offseason. You need to go trade for someone or you go out and spend money. I think a big part is spending the money versus trading. Or you could trade given if you have a bunch of prospects and they're log jammed at one position. But my question for you is, yes, this is a new look Cardinals team. It's hard to argue against that. And to me, does that change your opinion of them because it looks like a new approach?
It changes my opinion because they're not the oldest team in the league anymore. But I didn't think they were going to be contenders last year, and they're still at that point right now. They look now like a young team that's trying to improve instead of a old team that's trying to rekindle magic from 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And yeah, I think kind of really embracing the new idea. And you bring in someone like Chaim Bloom, who I think is good at building teams. I think you could argue about what he has done, what he did with the Red Sox, but bringing in young guys and kind of understanding how to develop people. But I do think he could incorporate by spending money. I think that's something he hasn't done well as a GM.
Yeah. It goes both ways, right? Like there's the highs and the lows of him, and they're definitely hoping for the highs in St. Louis.
Yeah. So that concludes our episode. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.